My father called me useless and disowned me in front of everyone at my sister's birthday party. I was only 5 minutes late, but what he didn't know was that I was late because I was secretly saving our family from losing everything. When I walked out that door, I took their future with me. The next morning, my phone exploded with 48 missed calls and desperate messages begging me not to let them go through with it. But it was too late. I had already made my decision. The sound of my phone ringing in the quiet of my room was the only thing that broke the heavy silence. I hesitated, glancing at the screen. It was my mother again, just like it had been every day for the past week. She was probably calling to talk about Olivia's latest success. I didn't even need to hear her voice to know what it was about. I silenced the phone and looked around my small apartment, the place I had worked so hard for. The bare walls, the unpolished floorboards, the threadbare couch, it was all mine. But as I sat there, trying to shake off the creeping sense of defeat, it all felt like I had built it out of nothing but hope, and in some ways it didn't seem like enough. It has always been like this. My parents never saw me, not the way they saw Olivia. No, they only had eyes for her, their perfect golden child. You see, Olivia was everything they wanted to show off. While I was out there working 2 jobs to pay for school and sending what little money I had back home, Olivia was shining in every way imaginable. I remember every one of their bad behavior towards anything that has to do with me so clearly. One was my college graduation. I had worked tirelessly for 4 years, juggling late-night shifts, early morning classes, and endless studying. My parents were supposed to be there, but they weren't. Instead, they were at Olivia's high school play rehearsal. My moment, the culmination of all my hard work, passed by without a single proud face spotted in the crowd. When I walked across that stage, I felt like I was just one more invisible person in a sea of faces, and I knew deep down that my parents didn't even care enough to show up or see how bad that action was. But Olivia, she could do no wrong. She was the one they'd brag about to anyone who would listen. The way they'd boast about her awards and achievements, their eyes sparkling with pride, while I stood there beside them, like I don't exist. I never asked for their approval, but somehow, it still hurt every single time they made me feel like I wasn't good enough. I remember this one time, a neighbor came over to visit. They were chatting about Olivia's latest honor, and my parents couldn't stop gushing about it. They had no idea that I was standing just a few feet away, listening to every word. I remember trying to squeeze out a smile, but all I could feel was the weight of my own insignificance because I'm already used to this happening countless times. Despite all this, I still always do my best for the family, even though they don't see me as one. As I'm facing my reality, I stumbled on the pile of legal documents in front of me, calling my attention. These papers had been sitting on my dad's desk for weeks, hidden behind his clutter. I wasn't supposed to look through them, but something told me I had to. As I sifted through the stack, one paper caught my eye, an official notice about the house's certificate of occupancy expiring. It has been sent multiple times and warnings have elapsed. My heart sank. For the first time in my life, I felt like I could actually do something that mattered, something that could change everything for my family. The house was going to be seized if they didn't take care of it, and no one knew. No one except me. I had a choice. I could just sit here and let it happen, let them continue on in their oblivious little world, or I could fix it. I had always been the one to pick up the pieces for them to fix what they broke. This time, I was the only one who could save them, but only if I wanted to. I wasn't sure what to do just yet, because it will cost me not only my time, but my money. But the thought of Olivia, taking all the credit for the things I had done, it made my blood boil. I spent the next few days immersed in the legal language of real estate law, reading through the government procedures, understanding the ins and outs of property seizures. My mind raced. I could fix this. I could save the house, and I was the only one who had the knowledge to do it. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the years of feeling overlooked, of being the good daughter who never got a thank you. I couldn't help but wonder, should I do this for them? After everything? The more I thought about it, the more it became clear. This was my moment. I had the power to fix everything, to make sure the house was safe, and yet I didn't have to let them know immediately. I would wait. I would wait for the right moment. And when the time come, I would finally show them that I wasn't useless. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about the house. It was about something bigger. It was about showing them, once and for all, that I was worthy of their respect. And it was about making Olivia see that nothing in life is handed to you, not even perfection. Back in my secret luxury apartment, one I kept away from my parents all this while, leaving them to keep living in their delusion, as they never believe how much of a thing I could achieve. The soft glow of the lamp illuminates my sketchpad, but my thoughts are far from my designs. The world outside feels so distant, a contrast to the empty feeling inside. I glance at my phone, no texts, no calls. Just a missed birthday wish from my parents, which I deleted before reading. They were too busy with Olivia, as usual. Olivia, the golden child. The one who could do no wrong. The one who had everything handed to her without ever having to lift a finger. The one who always seemed to get what she wanted. I couldn't help but watch from a distance as she flaunted her perfect life to everyone. And I, the daughter who had given everything to the family, sacrificed, worked overtime, and always stayed silent, was nothing more than an invisible figure in their eyes. I take a sip from my ramen bowl, the lukewarm soup tasting bitter. In my apartment, I could afford luxury, but at what cost? I worked for it, yes, but it never felt real. The life I had built felt so fragile compared to the lavish, shallow existence Olivia enjoyed without having to do much. But still, there I was, silently building my success away from the prying eyes of my family, and I still very much care about their well-being. As I scroll through my phone, I see Olivia's post, her usual amazing job and perfect relationship status. She's always so carefree. It's infuriating how she never even tries. The perfect image of success presented effortlessly to everyone around her. My family dotes on her, adores her, thinks she's the one who'll bring greatness to our name. Meanwhile, I am left on the sidelines, constantly ridiculed, criticized, and dismissed. I hear the familiar noise of my phone buzzing. It's a text from Olivia. Having dinner at the family house as my pre-birthday celebration. Don't forget to stop by. But I know what's coming. Olivia never texts me just to invite me. She needs an audience, someone to humiliate, and I am always the target. I grab my coat, try to shake off the rising anger, and head to the family house. When I arrive, the air is thick with forced smiles. My parents are there, as expected. Olivia is perched in the middle of the room, basking in her glory. She greets me with a snide grin, while my parents completely ignore me, only focusing on their perfect daughter. The tension feels unbearable. "So, Emily," Olivia chirps, her eyes glinting with that smugness I know all too well. "How's your pathetic little life going? Still hanging on to those outdated clothes of yours?" My face flushes, but I keep my composure. The years of this kind of treatment have taught me one thing: don't let them see the hurt. But inside it stings. "Actually," I replied coolly, "I'm doing fine. Better than I ever have, actually." "Oh, really?" she says with a laugh. "You're still living off ramen noodles and scraping by, aren't you? I mean, it's not like you can afford anything more, right?" The laughter from my parents rings out, loud and proud, as if they were waiting for her to humiliate me. Their laughter only deepens the ache in my chest, but I hold my head high. I don't let them see the tears building behind my eyes. I was already planning my escape when I remembered the main reason I agreed to come over. And then it hit me. The house is in danger of being seized. Registration plus real estate problems, and they are about to take possession unless it's renewed. This is the moment I've been dreading. This is the moment I finally see what I can do. The weight of the news is suffocating. I could fix it. I have the legal knowledge to help, but I'm not sure if I should. Why should I help a family that never cared enough to treat me with any respect? Why should I help a family that has always made me feel like I was invisible? I glance at Olivia, who's sitting on the couch, her head tilted back in laughter, completely unaware of what's going on. The world she has created is a lie, nothing but an illusion of success, supported by my family's false image of perfection. And I wonder, will they ever see me as more than just the disappointment? As the night stretches on, I watch my parents fawn over Olivia, offering praise for her amazing accomplishments. They talk about her success, her potential to change the world, while I sit quietly watching. A part of me wants to scream, but I remain silent. What good would it do? What would it change? Instead, I decided to hold my ground. This is my test, a test to see if they will ever realize the cost of their neglect. But it's not just about the house. It's about the recognition I've never gotten, the respect I've always deserved. I think about the sacrifices I've made over the years. I think about how I've built my life quietly, how I've become successful on my own, away from their scrutiny. They never saw it, but now they will. As the night winds down, I leave quietly, making my way back to my apartment. The weight of the document is still in my bag, burning a hole in my mind. I have the power to save them. But the question is, will I? As I walk through the door of my apartment, I finally allow myself to breathe. But one thought lingers in my mind. Should I really save them? Should I give them the chance to understand what they've done to me? I don't have the answer yet, but the power is mine to wield, and I will make my decision when the time is right. The next day, I stand before the paperwork again, watching the clock tick down to the final moments. The next day, I could feel my heart racing as I rushed out of the government office. The paperwork was done, the certificate of occupancy sealed and ready, but I still had to get it submitted. The deadline was looming, but it was Olivia's birthday, and my family, especially my father, would never understand how urgent it was. I checked my phone for the time. I was late, 5 minutes. That was all it took for everything to change. I grabbed my purse, feeling the familiar weight of the certificate inside it, the thing that would either save them or destroy them. But as I rushed out of the building, I couldn't help but wonder, was I really saving them, or was I simply setting them up for their reckoning? I finally arrived at the family house. It looked the same, large, grand, full of empty memories that now felt more like a museum than a home. The kind of place that could only exist if you had the right connections with it. If you were the golden child, the one that the family desires. But I wasn't that child. That title belonged to Olivia. I walked inside, my stomach twisted into a knot. The sounds of laughter and music greeted me. Olivia's birthday party was in full swing, and I was the last to arrive. Of course, she was surrounded by her friends, grinning ear to ear, soaking in the attention like the sun itself. She took the spotlight, and I was left in the shadows. As I stepped into the room, I heard her voice, loud and proud as always. "I'm so blessed to have such a supportive family," she said, addressing the room. "Unlike some people, I have parents who believe in me. I don't have to constantly prove myself." Her words stung, but I didn't let her see it. I didn't give her the satisfaction. I just stood there, looking around at the familiar faces of family and friends. They all loved Olivia. She was their star, their perfect daughter. I had long given up hoping for that kind of love. I wasn't the daughter they wanted. I wasn't the daughter they needed. And that's when it happened. My father's voice cut through the room, booming like thunder. "Where have you been?" he barked. "You couldn't even make it on time for your sister's birthday? You're always making excuses." The anger in his voice sent a chill down my spine. I knew what was coming next. "I was handling something important for the family," I replied, keeping my tone calm. I wasn't going to let him rattle me. Not today, but that wasn't good enough for him. Olivia, with that smug smile of hers, joined in. "What could you possibly be handling that's more important than family?" she sneered. "You're so selfish, Emily. You're always so caught up in your little world." And there it was, the familiar sting of her words, cutting me deeper than I cared to admit. But it wasn't just her. It was the whole family. My father, standing there with his arms crossed, watching me like I was the problem. My mother, silent as ever, unwilling to step in. They all chose Olivia over me, every time. It was always Olivia. I could feel the anger rising in my chest. My father's voice boomed again. "Always excuses. You're a useless daughter. You're selfish, unreliable, and frankly embarrassing." His words echoed in my ears, but I didn't let him see how much they hurt. I wasn't going to break down in front of them. Not today. Not ever again. The room went quiet, the laughter fading as the weight of my father's words settled in. I saw the looks from the guests, some uncomfortable, some smug. They all knew the dynamics. They all knew who my father's favorite was, and they all knew how he treated me. But then he dropped the final bomb. "If you can't prioritize family," he said, "then you're no daughter of mine." My heart stopped. Those words hit harder than anything I had ever heard. They were final. Final in a way I didn't expect. The years of resentment, the years of sacrificing myself for their approval, now it was all over because this is the height of it. I looked at my father, my mother, my sister, each one of them in their own little bubble. Olivia stood there, a smug grin on her face. She was winning. She always did. She always had everything handed to her. The perfect relationship, the perfect job, the perfect life. While I was just the disappointment. I took a deep breath and stood up straight, refusing to let them see how badly their words had pierced me. "Okay," I said, my voice steady but cold. It was the only thing I could say. I turned and walked toward the door, every step feeling heavier than the last. I was done. I had taken their inhumane acts for far too long. I had been their doormat for as long as I could remember. But not anymore. As I stepped out the door, I felt something shift inside me. The power that had always been in my hands was now mine to wield. I wasn't their punching bag anymore. I wasn't their invisible daughter. I was me, and it was time they saw that. Could hear the sounds of the party behind me, their laughter, their murmurs of disbelief. But I didn't look back. Not once. I was done with them. But the truth was, they weren't done with me. I had to skip work all day to process the document that would save them from being homeless. And all my father could do was disown me for being 5 minutes late to his favorite daughter's birthday. Now I did not proceed to pay the fee for the final procedure, and I withdrew the submission. The next morning, my phone exploded with 48 missed calls and dozens of desperate text messages. They were panicked, desperate, begging me to come back and save them from the mess they were in. But as I stood there staring at my phone, something inside me hardened. I wasn't going back. Not to be their punching bag, not to be their second choice. After all, Dad disowned me. I had the power to destroy them, but I had bigger plans, and they were about to find out exactly what I was capable of. The air felt still. The sound of my phone buzzing against the polished wooden table echoed in the quiet of my apartment. The once distant hum of the city below now seemed oddly distant, as if everything in my life had just shifted into a new, unrecognizable phase. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly, savoring the view. The sun was rising slowly over the horizon, painting the cityscape in soft pinks and golds. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I could finally breathe, like the weight of everything was shifting, and I was standing in the center of it. I reached for my coffee, the warm cup comforting in my hands, as my phone continued to buzz insistently. It was odd, really, how the world could keep spinning while your life felt like it was falling apart. But for me, the mess that had once been my life, the tangled mess of family obligations and expectations, was now in the past. I glanced at the screen of my phone. 48 missed calls, 12 new text messages. The number was staggering, and the urgency in those texts almost suffocating. My finger hovered over the screen for a moment before I finally tapped it open. It was my mother. Of course, the panicked voicemails started coming in, one after another. "Emily, please call back. It's an emergency. We need you. We can't lose everything. The house is..." I didn't need to listen further. I already knew. I had seen the articles, the stories of real estate seizures, the looming foreclosure notices. I'd already made my decision, and I had let it all happen. The deadline was long past, and now it was too late. I took another sip of my coffee and opened the morning paper. The headlines didn't surprise me. Property seizures begin as debtors face foreclosure. And in the small print under the real estate section, homeowners, including the Johnson family, are facing immediate action due to unpaid mortgage fees and unresolved occupancy certifications. I thought it was only the certificate of occupancy issue, never knew there was a mortgage issue. All this I planned to resolve, and still got insulted at their golden daughter's birthday. It felt almost surreal. They thought they could break me, push me to the edge, and keep ignoring the things I'd been doing behind the scenes. But what they didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment long before they even realized the trouble was coming. Flashbacks to the night before flashed in my mind. I I remembered standing in the government office, the papers in my hand, the deadlines staring me in the face. I had been so close to submitting everything to fix the mess they'd created, so close to saving them, even though they'd never asked for help, let alone deserved it. But in the end, I had made a choice that I knew would be hard, but would change everything. The deadline had passed. I hadn't submitted the paperwork. The house was going to be seized. And now it was time to let them feel the weight of their own actions. The buzzing phone pulled me from my thoughts. I sighed, the weight of the moment settling deeper into my chest. I reached over, swiping to answer the call, my thumb lingering for a second before I spoke. "Oh, you need me now?" I said, my voice calm but composed. It was my mother on the other line, her voice almost cracking as she begged. "Emily, please, please come back. We need you. You have to help us. The bank, the real estate developers, they're threatening to take the house." I leaned back in my chair, taking another slow sip of coffee. My fingers tightened around the mug. This was the moment I had dreamed of for so long. For once, the power was in my hands. I could hear the panic in her voice, her desperation seeping through the line, but I held firm. "I was 5 minutes late to your precious daughter's birthday party, remember?" I said, leaning back, savoring my control over the conversation. "I was the daughter you called useless, remember? Well, I've been busy. Just like you asked. I was handling something for your family." "Emily, I don't understand. Please, you have to." I cut her off, my voice steady like I was talking to a stranger. "No, you don't understand. You thought I was a failure, didn't you? You thought I was just a disappointment. But it was me who knew about your little secret. It was me who knew what was happening, and I could have ignored it, but I still decided to fix it. I couldn't just watch you all struggle, not thinking about how you all treated me like I never existed. I wanted to see if you'd finally see me, really see me, but you never did. So now you're going to have to deal with the consequences of your actions." There was a long pause on the other end, the silence stretching far too long for comfort, but I wasn't worried. I had no sympathy left for them, no more pity. When she finally spoke, her voice was trembling. "Emily, please, we can't lose the house. Please, we need you." I almost felt sorry for her, almost, but the words were already out and I wasn't going back. "It's too late, Mom. I was trying to save your house, but you were too busy dismissing me. Your precious little golden child is about to lose everything, and now you're looking at me for help." "Well, you can have it," I said, my voice cold, final. "I'll save you, but only on my terms. I'll fix everything, but you will never see me the same way again. I've been trampled on for too long. No more. I will see what I can do, but you have to wait and hope I won't change my mind." I hung up the phone and took another sip of my coffee, letting the bitter warmth slide down my throat. In that moment, I realized something. I had no desire to go back to being the overlooked daughter, the girl who was only good enough when they needed her, when it was convenient for them. I was done. They were going to get their house back, sure, but it would come at a price. Weeks passed. The sun had barely risen when I woke up that morning. My penthouse, with its sleek modern design and panoramic views of the city, felt colder than usual. The silence was deafening as I sat by the window, watching the world stir below me. My phone had been silent for weeks because I made it clear I didn't want to be disturbed after they made it a habit, but today I knew it would ring again. It would be them, my family. Desperate, scrambling for a way to fix the mess they'd created. It had been 3 weeks since I made them wait. 3 weeks of my silence while I reveled in the satisfaction of watching their lives fall apart. They had thought I was the one who was useless and hopeless, the one who would always be in the shadows. But now I was the one with all the power. And they were finally about to understand what that felt like. As the day unfolded, I could feel the pressure building. I knew the call was coming. My mother had left multiple messages. My father had sent frantic emails. Olivia, of course, was blissfully unaware, too absorbed in her own world to care about anyone else's. But I knew they were coming, and when they did, it would be on my terms. The knock at the door came exactly at 2 p.m. They had arrived. I had instructed my assistant to let them in, and within minutes, I heard their voices outside my office. The door opened, and there they were, my parents, their faces drawn with worry, their eyes wide with desperation. Olivia stood just behind them, looking confused and slightly defensive. I looked up from my desk, my hands folded neatly in front of me. I could feel the tension in the air. It was palpable, but I didn't flinch, not even a little. "Emily," my mother said, her voice trembling slightly, "we've been trying to reach you. We need your help. The house, it's being taken away. We didn't know what was happening, and we can't lose everything." I leaned back in my chair, studying them. My father's eyes were downcast, his usual bravado nowhere to be found. My mother, always the social one, had nothing to say but apologies. And Olivia, standing there like the queen she always thought she was silent. "I see you've finally come to realize," I said coldly, my voice sharp. "But let me make something clear. I didn't create this problem, and I'm not the one who ignored it all these years." They shifted uncomfortably. My father took a deep breath, trying to find the words. "We were wrong, Emily. We didn't see it. We didn't realize how hard you worked, how much you sacrificed. We were blinded by Olivia. We thought—" "You thought I was the screw-up," I interrupted, my voice low but steady. "You never even considered that I was the one holding this family together. That I was the one quietly paying bills, fixing problems, and keeping everything running while you all focused on your golden child. What type of family are you?" I stood up, my gaze never leaving them. "I've been invisible for so long, haven't I? But that's over now." I could feel the weight of their guilt in the room. I could see my father's broken expression, his shoulders slumped as he tried to explain himself. But there was nothing he could say that would make this right. Nothing. "I know what you're thinking," I continued, my tone softer now but no less firm. "You need me to fix this, to save you. But let me remind you, I could have saved the house. I had everything I needed to stop the foreclosure. But instead, I let it go after you publicly embarrassed me at your beloved daughter's birthday. That was just the wake-up call for me, and I wanted to see how you would resolve it yourself. You treated me like a failure. You saw Olivia as your prize, your perfect daughter. You didn't care about me. But now you want me to fix everything?" I could see my mother's eyes fill with tears, but I wasn't moved. Not anymore. "Well, I've decided," I said calmly. "I'll save your house, but there's a price you will pay for your years of neglect, for every time you overlooked me, for every time you chose Olivia over me." Olivia stepped forward, her expression defensive. "What's this about, Emily?" she sneered. "Are you really going to be this dramatic? This is ridiculous. Stop acting like you're some martyr. You didn't have to help us." My mother landed her a slap in quick succession, like she and Dad weren't the one that spoiled her in the first place. I couldn't help but laugh softly as her face turned red. "Oh, I'm not a martyr. You are. You've lived your life in a bubble of privilege, thinking you're untouchable. But now, you'll see what happens when you take everything for granted." The air in the room grew thick tension. I walked toward the window, looking out over the city, before turning back to them. "I'll help you," I said finally, the words coming out in a measured, calm tone. "But I want a public apology. I want you to acknowledge everything you've done. I want you to admit that you were wrong. I'm not asking you to treat me as an equal, because all that doesn't matter to me anymore." There was a long silence before my father spoke, his voice small. "You want us to apologize to you?" "Yes," I said, my gaze unwavering. "You have 24 hours to decide. If you want me to help, you'll have to prove that you've learned from this. And from now on, I will never be your overlooked daughter again. You'll treat me with respect, or you'll be on your own." Olivia looked like she was about to protest, but the look I gave her stopped her in her tracks. "You have 24 hours. Take it or leave it." They stood there, not knowing where to start from. My father was broken, my mother desperate, and Olivia, she was finally starting to understand that her world wasn't as perfect as she thought. I could feel the final shift in the air. I had won. I wasn't their victim anymore. I was in control. And then, as I turned to walk away, my mother's voice broke the silence. "Emily, please, we'll do whatever it takes. Just help us, please. We will forever be indebted to you." I turned back to face them. "I will, and actually, I have processed it even before they arrive here. I'm humane enough not to watch my parents suffer, even though one would agree they deserve it. As they left my penthouse, I couldn't help but feel a sense of finality in the air. But there was more to this than just saving their house. This was about power, control, and finally showing them who I really was. This was it, the beginning of my new life. Thanks for following up till the end of this story. Let me know in the comments what time in your time zone you're watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next story.